Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be looking at a very strong team for the Open Bastion League, Open Great League in Trevenant Double Steel, where you use Steel to lure out the fighter or the mud boy and then clean up with Trevenant, and then you can go from there. Also, Trevenant picks up a lot of good leads in this meta as well. And Steel is just an incredible typing in the meta currently. There are few core breakers to this team, like Obstagoons, Grafty, and Gliscor are just gonna absolutely destroy it, but they are quite rare. But you do also have a bit of play against them, although you're gonna see one game, and yeah, it's pretty yikes. Going into the first game, we lead into a Shadow Nidoqueen, which I wasn't really prepared for, so I stay in initially to take the first poison thing, and it does so much damage. But then I throw the Seed Bomb because I think the Nidoqueen is just always gonna shield this. And then instead of swapping in my Registeel, I swap in Stunfisk because a Focus Blast from Registeel only does about 43%, so it's not really threatening. So I want to bring in a Pokemon that can actually threaten the Nidoqueen, and then maybe later in the game I can put the Nidoqueen into a range where Registeel can threaten it. They bring in a Medicham, and it has Pop, and it's very yikes. But we go for the Earthquake, and they let us get to another one. They might have been miscounting, or, and I think this is the case, they've just made an incredible play. Because now they can bring in Nidoqueen to get an incredible farm on my Stunfisk and come out with a bunch of energy. But I did get in some mud shot damage on the Nidoqueen, meaning it might be in lock on plus Focus Blast range at this point. And I just don't know if it's gonna shield or it's gonna bait me here. It does. I shield it. It's painful. I go for the Focus Blast. Is it enough? We'll never know, cause it's shielded. Swap in my Trevenant. I get to the Seed Bomb, but he catches it onto their Bastiodon. Yes, there is a reason why I called this the Open Bastiodon League. I'm gonna face so many of these. The Nidoqueen came out with 11 Poison Jabs worth of energy, and it takes 14 Poison Jabs to get to a Poison Fang and an Earth Power. So I need to come out with enough energy here so that I can get to my Focus Blast on the Nidoqueen before it gets to 3 more Poison Jabs. The Flamethrower is not threatening, I don't need to worry about it. Fast moves are not threatening, I don't need to worry about it. That's why I undercharged that Focus Blast. And it was an incredible undercharge. Because now I can shield this safely. He's not going to get to a bait and an Earth Power, and then get to my Focus Blast, take out the Nidoqueen. I think that's an incredible play. Don't know about you. I like it. Next game, we lead into a Sableye. Yikes. Swap out immediately into Registeel, and it's met with a Noctowl. What? I think my opponent might have been expecting something else. I'm not sure. Or maybe they just misclicked. It happens. I did the same thing in another game where I brought in the wrong Pokemon and I ended up losing a game because of it. You're not going to see it because it's a really bad game. I should have RPS'd the opponent. Instead, I got RPS'd. It happens. Well, this is a pretty good spot because obviously Reggie still has a very good matchup here. I tried to see if I can lock on it down, realize I can't, so I go for the Focus Blast. And we actually grab a shield. And I'm thinking, Trevenant is actually quite good up a shield against Sableye, so I don't really need Switch here. So we bring in the Trevenant, they're gonna bring in the Sableye again, I assume, so I wanna swap out Stunfisk immediately. I see the Sableye, so I swap out. And they bring in a Lantern. That is why they shielded their Noctowl, because they really wanted Switch advantage, because they didn't want the Lantern on my Trevenant. But this is a very good spot for me. Up a shield, Stunfisk is very good against Lantern. Generally, Stunfisk is pretty good against Lantern with Spark. Get off the Earthquake. Boom. Does so much damage. They get to one more Surf, and I decide to shield this. I think the better play would have been to no shield it, but it doesn't really matter. I go for the Earthquake here too, because a Shadow Ball does more damage to a Sableye than an Earthquake, so I assume they're gonna no shield this, because they would rather save the shield for a potential Shadow Ball. They go up, through a foul play. I don't even need to worry about this. It's not enough to take out my Stunfisk. But instead of even throwing my Rock Slide, I decide to just throw in my Trevenant and try to farm them down, because at this point they're not going to get to 2 foul plays. So yeah, it ends up being a pretty easy win. Next game, we lead into an Alolan Ninetales, Shadow Alolan Ninetales. I know Registeel is my hard counter, but I decide to swap it in anyways because I think it's a lot better of a safe swap. And Stunfisk is also pretty good against Alolan Ninetales. It has Charm and it's staying in for some reason. And then they bring in an Umbreon. I swear, this is quite a high elo range. I'm not sure what is happening. Umbreon is not a response to Registeel. I go for the Zap Cannon because I have to land 2 moves anyways, and the Zap Cannon plus Focus Blast is enough. So I want to get the attack debuff. It's only like 1 turn, 4 energy, so I think it's worth it. And I'm still gonna outpace to the Focus Blast because it takes 4 for the first, 3 for the second, and 4 for the third. Foul play from Umbreon, so I get to the Focus Blast just before they get to another one. We take out the Umbreon, and I'm thinking the Ninetales has quite a lot of energy, and because it's Charm, Stunfisk is a lot better against it, and because it has so much energy, I don't want Trevenant onto it. So I decide to let myself get farmed down so I can keep alignment, bring in my Stunfisk, but also now I'm thinking they didn't have a response to Registeel, so they might be very weak to Steel, which is why I decided to keep some health on my Stunfisk. They're also dry at this point. Then they bring in an Azumarill. This is just a terrible team. Sorry, opponent. But like, what are you doing? Trevenant with good IVs can easily live an Ice Beam and get to like a lot of seed bombs. Like the bubbles just don't do enough. Unless you have what we in Denmark call fnuske IVs on your Trevenant, it should be able to live the Ice Beam comfortably enough to just get to enough seed bombs. And I go for the seed bomb on CMP because it takes 5 bubbles for each Ice Beam, so I know exactly when to throw it. And then they bring in all the Ninetales. I'm not gonna get to a Shadow Ball, so I go for a seed bomb. And they realize that this is just not gonna happen for Ninetales, so they concede the match. Next game, we lead into a Shadow Gliscor. I have no idea what to do here. I'm just gonna be honest. I swap in my Registeel, they swap in Medicham. It goes from yikes to even more yikes. I really hope I can get like a shield here or bring it into a range where I can farm it down, get some energy so I can maybe handle that Gliscor. And it looks like I might have a chance. If they're not running a fighting move, I might be able to get a shield here. They throw the Psychic and they get to the Ice Punch. I might be able to live this. This is a pretty good health range too to farm it down. I get to a move I really want. I shouldn't have thrown the Zap Cannon here. I should have thrown the Focus Blast and just no bubbled it. The only reason I threw this move was to try and grab the shield. I really didn't want switch because it doesn't matter for me. I want as much energy as possible. And I'm only gonna get 2 Shadow Claws worth of energy on my Trevenant if I bring that in. So I decide to make a really, really weird looking move in bringing in my Stunfisk. But it's because I need the energy. This like Trevenant is just not going to be able to do anything against that Gliscor if it only gets 2 Shadow Claws, because the Gliscor already has 2 Wing attacks worth of energy. But 2 Rock Slides is just not enough to take out this War Rain, so I have to stay in, over farm even more and shield this. Go for another Rock Slide. It's looking very rough, but it might not be over. Go for a Rock Slide. It's now on 3 Wing attacks. They shield this. I bring in my Trevenant. They go up to back Night Slashes here. It takes 5 for the first, 4 for the second. I'm thinking maybe I can lift the first one, get off my Shadow Ball, grab the shield, and then maybe Stunfisk can do something. But then they get the boost. Are you serious? And there's just no way, because now a Night Slash is definitely gonna take out my Stunfisk. I think it might have been able to anyways. Like, it's such a tough matchup. Gliscor. Next game, we lead into Registeel. The way I like to play this with Trevenant is to just not throw my Shadow Ball, because I'm gonna have to throw 2 moves anyways. And Registeel leads tend to sometimes try to catch because it's a 1-turn move, so you can't throw in the middle of their fast move. So I just over farm. As I said, I still have to throw 2 moves anyways. So I throw the first Shadow Ball, and then I go up. And because I didn't get the debuff, I go for a Seed Bomb. Because if you get the debuff, you have to go for 2 Shadow Balls. But here I can't go for a Seed Bomb. And then I'm thinking that probably another thing weak to Trevenant in the back, since they stayed in with the Registeel. It's a pretty poor matchup for Registeel. So I swap out pretty much immediately as I see the Bastiodon. Also, I have 2 counters to Bastiodon, so this is perfect. I lure out the Medicham, absolutely ideal. We don't get the debuff. They go for another pop. This is actually very nice. They should have probably tried to farm it down, come out with a lot more energy, but because they go for a pop, they only come out with 3 counters worth of energy, which is a lot more comfortable for me. And I just want to make sure I get off some like enough damage so that my Stunfisk will not see this Medicham, which is why I go for the Seed Bomb. Because now I can just shield and I'm gonna be able to get like at least Shadow Claw damage or like another Seed Bomb. And then the Medicham is not gonna be a problem. But then they bring in Bastiodon, we have Stunfisk. And I don't need to undercharge this because the Medicham is so low, but I'm just gonna do it for the video really, just to show you how to play this like ideally. I should have probably undercharged a little bit more, like in a perfect world, but this is still a pretty good farm down. We come up with so much energy. And then I show you how not to play this matchup, because this is just a very silly bait. I thought a Rock Slide would do a little bit more at least, but it really doesn't do a lot of damage, so I have to go for another one. I still have that Seed Bomb. I almost have a Seed Bomb stored, so there shouldn't be any problems here. And we take out the Medicham. And that was a 4-1, bringing us all the way up to 2579 either, which is very high right now. Next game, we lead into a Shadow Swampert. Very nice lead. And they stay in. What? I don't want to throw immediately. I do win CMP, but I'm thinking they might try to catch. Like, they must be doing something since they're staying in here. So I decided to go up one before they get to their next Hydro Cannon. Wait a turn to throw in the middle of their Mud Shot. I'm very cautious about, because they have to like, there has to be some meaning with this madness. Like, they go for another one. This one I have to shield. And then they swap into their Registeel. And Stunfisk down energy has a very awkward matchup against Registeel. So I end up staying in. I panic a little bit. And I'm thinking they're going to throw one before I get to the Shadow Ball, number 2. And they're going to throw Zap Cannons. So I try to catch it. And I catch a Zap Cannon onto my Stunfisk. This match is, by the way, absolutely ridiculous. Stunfisk can live a Focus Blast from this range. So I decided to take it. A Rock Slide is not enough here. In order to bring it down to Mudshot range, so I go for the Earthquake and undercharge it. I undercharge it to come out with enough energy so that I can get to an Earthquake onto the Swampert. I should have gone for one more Mudshot here to bring myself to even lower HP, so that if this takes out the Swampert, they're gonna get less farm, but now they get 3 Mudshots worth of energy on the Stunfisk, which is actually kind of awkward. So I bring in my Trevenant and try to CMP tie them. They don't fall for it. And because they don't fall for it, I think they might be very much aware of where I'm at. So I go up to 1 before I get to the Seed Bomb, and then I catch another move onto my Registeel, and it's a Rock Slide. Very disgusting. They go up to right before we get to the Focus Blast, throw the move, and they Rock Slide bait me. But we're still gonna get to the Focus Blast, and I'm 1 off the Seed Bomb on my Trevenant. So this should be a pretty good spot. They go up, throw the Earthquake, of course. And a fun fact here, if the Stunfisk throws an Earthquake, even if it's at 100 energy, it's still going to be 2 Mudshots away from a Rock Slide, no matter what. So I actually go 1 over just to show you how comfortable I am with that matchup, with that fact. And I don't throw my Seed Bomb immediately. Next game, we lead into a Stunfisk. Pretty good lead. They try to catch a move on their Noctowl. I stay in for a little bit just to get up some more energy, because this is such a dominant matchup for Registeel. I don't need to swap in immediately. I throw the Zap Cannon on bad timing, which is not ideal. They shield it, which is very surprising. They go for another Shadow Ball. And I'm thinking they're probably going to shield again, but I still want the debuff, even if they do shield again. And maybe I should have shielded this, but yeah, I decided not to. It's a Shadow Ball, doesn't take me out. Maybe they undercharged it a little to get more farm, which would be a very good play. And I bring in my Stunfisk. And at this point, I kind of have to stay in against the Mantine, because if I swap out, then my Trevenant is definitely going to see the Noctowl. So my plan is to take out the Mantine with my Stunfisk. This is a good matchup for Stunfisk. Then bring in my Trevenant immediately afterwards, because they're gonna bring in their Stunfisk. Then like to snipe the Stunfisk with a Shadow Ball just to get more use out of the energy on my Trevenant. So let's see. They go up to... They have back-to-back Bubble Beams here, which is why I'm throwing on CMP. But then they go for an Ice Beam, which is actually a very good play by them, because it does a lot more damage than Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam is just a bad move. So I swap my Trevenant immediately, trying to get worth out of this Shadow Ball, but instead I catch an Earthquake, and now their switch timer is up. So I don't want to throw the Shadow Ball, and now my energy is going into Noctowl like anyways, which is very bad. Go up to back Seed Bomb. If you only get to one move here, you should throw the Shadow Ball, but because I'm getting to 2 Seed Bombs, it is better. Seed Bomb is also the more energy efficient move. And the Noctowl gets quite a bit of energy here, which is very uncomfortable. The Stunfisk is completely dry. It's 0 out of 7, so that it's 7 mud shots until the next Earthquake. It takes 8 for the first Earthquake, then 7 for the next couple. So I'm thinking I don't need to save a shield for the potential Earthquake, because I can't just take it out. I go up to 1 before they get to a move, and wait a turn, and they swap in trying to catch a Rock Slide, and then I go for the Earthquake. Now I undercharge it a little bit, which is a huge mistake, because now they actually get to the Earthquake, but I think they panicked and went for the Rock Slide. So we take it. Do they have a move on Noctowl? Oh, they do have a move on Noctowl. God damn. And they take out my Sunfish. Very well played by my opponent. Hats off to him. That was the last battle for today. I think this team is incredible. Like, having 2 steals in this meta is just unreal. There are so many Bastiodons, so having 2.5 counters to Bastiodon, being able to use Registeel to lure out the Medicham so Stunfisk can be in the back and not see Medicham, which is also everywhere, is just, yeah, it's so good for the current meta and just in general. Fun fact of the day, Trevenant wins the Zero Shields against Dunsparce. It's a quite obscure one, but I think it's a lot of fun, because you wouldn't expect it. Other than that, thank you for watching. If you enjoy this, or feel like you learned something and you want to learn more, check out some of my other videos, subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you next time.